So going back to doing a story on how you kind of were recruited and came here, what was it like growing up playing basketball in Alaska? I assume it's got to be a little bit of a different experience then.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of big people. Most of the competitors that I played against that were big were my siblings, my sister and my brother. So I don't think anybody was around my height except for my sister, and we were on the same team my freshman year, and then the rest, it was like a triple team. So definitely different coming here and playing against girls that are my size.
Did you do much like AAU, or was there a chance at all to compete against people that were your size
Yeah,
than you?
I did maybe 3 tournaments altogether throughout my high school experience, but I did the USA trials, and I also, I did some other outside things like Blue Star, but those were usually where I'd see bigger opponents.
I'm just curious, how Jan or the Hawkeyes could kind of judge your abilities against people that could compete with you based on your size.
Yeah, she came to one of my tournaments, and we played a couple of people that were pretty big in size. So, yeah.
Was that tournament in Alaska?
No, it was in Chicago. I did the TOC Tournament
Right,
Champions.
because you got 20 offers after that, right?
Yeah.
That was the big one.
Yeah.
So talk about that process. Yeah, how did you kind of get first noticed by a lot of these schools?
A lot of schools, initially I sent out 100 emails my sophomore year, and it was kind of just a reach. I was I really want to play in college, and I kind of just did it just to see. And then I told them where I was playing. Obviously, I put that I was 6'5" in the main thing. And then a bunch of them came and watched, and I think a lot of them kind of came and watched when they saw there were other coaches there. And I think I had somebody that I knew from ESPN a while ago that had talked to Lisa, and that's how they got them to come over and watch.
So when did you hit 6'5" then? As a sophomore, you were 6'5"?
Yeah, around then.
How much of your recruiting process were you just doing what worked for your sister?
Because
she's playing Division I college basketball, correct?
Yeah, she
so
is.
Were you just doing what worked for her, or were you trying to kind of forge your own path?
I think she's helped me a lot, decide of what I wanted to do, and I've always wanted to play. But yes, I think that she was a big reason of why I wanted to keep playing college basketball.
Did Jan ever, or anyone from the Iowa coaching staff ever come visit you up in Alaska?
Yeah, Jan actually did come. It was I played volleyball in high school, and she came during kind of that season, came to one of our open gyms. But she came, I think it was after the first snowfall, so a little bit of a risky drive coming where we are.
I assume she wasn't the only coaching staff to come see, but I guess as you're going through the process, did that kind of make certain schools stand out when they come all the way to Alaska to see you?
Yeah, definitely. The schools I was more interested in came, yeah.
How'd you know that basketball was your sport over volleyball? I imagine that came pretty naturally to you too.
I had played basketball for so long, and both my parents played. I don't know, I kind of just love the physicality of it. You don't really get a lot of, volleyball, you're not really touching anybody physically, so yeah.
As the start of this Big Ten grind has got going, what have been the biggest things that the veterans, I guess, have kind of told you about, needing to bring it every night, needing to, be sharp, regardless of the opponent, and just kind of general lessons as, this slog gets going?
Just going in and taking advantage of the minutes that you get, and always putting your all out there when you can. It's helped a lot to know other people's experiences throughout Big Ten, and just knowing what I can do based on what they've done too.
What's Kylie been like as she's been kind of sidelined a little bit?
She's so supportive. She always has a lot of great words of wisdom when we're off on the bench, or just even if I'm curious of something I don't know what to do, she's definitely the person to go to.
Is it like having another coach on the bench?
Kind of, yeah.
Ava and you both got into some pretty heavy foul trouble in Chicago. What, how can that kind of be avoided? What needs to be done, whether it's schematically, footwork things, stuff to, kind of stay out of that kind of predicament?
I think a lot of it, I know what I'm doing, and it's just being more intentional with how I'm playing defense, making sure I'm not reaching, or knowing I need to give a little bit more space. And it sucks in the moment, but you really can't do anything about it after. You just have to be a good teammate, but just those little things on defense.
Eva mentioned that you guys, maybe it's you as well, watching film has been a big part of it, just kind of going back and saying, hey, that foul maybe in the first quarter was kind of a dumb foul, and hey, maybe this foul in the third quarter was maybe a better foul, you're just kind of battling, but has that been a big part of it, just kind of watching the film? Yeah,
actually I film after this, but also in practice they've done a really good job of just making sure that we focus on fouls, okay, they're going to call it, and you can't do anything about it, and just making sure I'm intentional in practice and not doing the like the little fouls that really aren't like great.
Is there more pressure on you when you're coming in for somebody who's in foul trouble, or when you're the player that other teams are trying to get in foul trouble?
I don't know. I don't really think of it as pressure, but more as like just like an opportunity to get to play. Yeah.
What was it first like when you get here and you're able to play against Ava and Hannah in summer camp? What was that adjustment like?
I mean, it was great. They're both one of the closer people that I am with on the team, so they've just been really supportive with like the whole process and like very much like teaching me like the right things to do, the wrong things. I don't think it's ever been like, there's never been any like drama or anything. They've done a really good job of helping me throughout this whole process.
I know you said that in high school you faced triple teams, which I'm sure in its own way is tough to go up against, but then you get here and how quickly was there like, going up against an Ava or Hannah to say, oh, here are the things that like I need to really kind of get better at?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is physicality, like putting an effort in every time I go up and making sure I go up strong. And I've definitely noticed that because, I mean, they're bigger, they're taller, so just making sure that I am stronger instead of just being able to like turn around and shoot.
Have your folks or family been down here for many games so far this year?
Yeah, actually, my parents were coming for the Michigan State game, but they actually surprised me when we played our first game. Yeah.
I don't know if Alaska is similar to Iowa in that, like I guess I don't know how many like Division I athletes Alaska produces down here, but like do you get a lot of support from Alaskans in general from around the state that are watching you?
Yeah, they're very like in it. I mean, there's a couple of websites that always are like kind of following along, and my former teammates and my former coaches are always texting me before and after games, so you feel a lot of love from where I'm from.
As you've been starting in place of Kylie, how supportive has she been on the bench, and what's it like having her on the bench with that veteran presence?
Definitely been different. Obviously, we want her out on the court, but she's been very engaged, still leading from the side and doing everything she can.
I know she's been obviously a big, Jan's referred to as kind of a calming voice throughout games and whatnot. Just what has it been like to trying to, not just you specifically, but trying to replicate some of that leadership with her out?
She's definitely, like I said, still been supported from the bench, but just trying to keep, like you said, staying loud, staying engaged, leading from the court, keeping our huddle tight. That's been the main goal.
Did you guys learn command of the Northwestern game? I mean, obviously, Jan took the approach of a gritty win on the road, but obviously a game that many probably assumed that you would win by more. Kind of what lessons did you learn from that?
Like you said, we all were pretty disappointed in our performance. I mean, a win is a win. Like Coach Jay said, it was gritty. Every Big Ten team is going to be tough, especially on their home court. So much respect to them, but we have higher expectations for ourselves. And I think as far as what we learned is just that when we can and need to do better than that, and we're ready to show up today, show up tomorrow, and moving forward, working hard and trying to polish some of those things that need to be polished.
You're officially halfway through the season now, 15 games in. What's kind of the state of the union? How do you feel about this team right now? What's your biggest strength, and what really needs to be worked on most?
I feel really good. I can't believe we're halfway through. That's actually crazy. I think, one of our biggest strengths is that we still have so much space, such a high ceiling, and I think another strength is that we're all working to meet that ceiling, and I think just showing up every day and trying to get better and improve together is definitely our goal. I think weakness-wise, I'm drawing a blank. I don't like to talk much about weaknesses, but I think definitely with that youth comes some, inexperience, and myself included, just things that you don't know what you don't know. So just got to go through the process and lean on each other and figure it out together.
Both Coach Jensen and Coach Henderson mentioned just how supportive the Hawk fans were in Evanston. How big was that in the game where you guys were maybe not getting the shots to fall like you want?
Huge, best fans in the country. I think that makes all the difference wherever we go. It's always nice to have your name chanted and not chanted against, so that always makes a big difference. And yeah, shout out the Hawk fans.
Next game up at Indiana, I know you haven't played there before, but it's a place that Iowa were, I think, one of the last 8 that they won there. Just What have you, I mean, I guess you probably haven't quite looked ahead to it, but just to get to go there and try to win the game, just what have you kind of heard about what Indiana's going to be like?
I'm super excited. My mom actually played for Coach Terry Moore in there, so that's a fun little connection. But I'm excited. Much respect to their team. I know they're very well coached, great polished program. So I think getting to play in such a cool arena, that's one of the best parts about playing college basketball, just everything you get to see and experience. So yeah, I'm looking forward to going to their field house. I know it's like super steep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something crazy. So luckily I don't have to go to the top of there, but I'll be on the court, so that'll be fun.
Sorry, so where did your mom play at?
Butler.
Okay.
Hall of Famer. Shout out, Mom.
So I was talking to Coach Bluder, and she said that she recruited your mom pretty hard. Did your mom talk about that much? Or?
Yeah, we were trying to look back. We have there was a letter from Coach Bluder saying she recently hired Coach Jan Jensen to join the staff after playing for her at Drake. So that was kind of funny. My grandma, I think, found that in my mom's old recruiting mail, so that was cool.
How much of a role did your mom play in your recruiting process? Did she kind of help you with that at all?
Yeah, both my parents were super helpful. They definitely let me navigate it on my own and make the big decisions, but obviously they're more wise and helpful than I am, so I think having them there was definitely big. And my mom playing college basketball and my dad, so I think both of them were great resources.
Did he play at Butler too?
He played at Platteville.
Okay. So boy, if both your parents played college hoops, like, I don't know if you remember your first time playing basketball. I assume that was instilled in you from pretty
Yeah,
young.
I was gonna say right when I came into the world, I played basketball.
Did your mom give you the scouting report on her old coach yet ahead of this?
I don't know. No, we've talked about. I've heard she's pretty cool. She tells me one story about how she stuck her tongue out when my mom got kicked out of practice one time, but I don't know much besides that. She seems like a nice woman.
All right.
After you got a chance to look back at the Northwestern game, just what did you see that maybe you liked, maybe you didn't like?
Yeah, it just was one of those games where the beginning was really great. It came easy in the sense of we were running well. Ava was, pretty much, on the whole game. But it was really weird when that foul trouble happened with her. We just got off the rails and we never found a way to get back on. Joe McCune is a really good coach, and he has shown a lot of zone. He played all player. He got a little bit more pressure than he has played. So just different things. He doesn't have all those wins where he throws a few wrinkles in there. So credit him in the sense that he hadn't played that type of game plan. I thought he might pressure. He's done that. But I thought his kids played really, really hard. We just had an off day. And that's on me. I thought we had us prepared, but, I think it just a lot of times when it comes together, when, you have a kid that's not feeling well, a couple are in foul trouble, someone's not hitting, it's just a perfect storm. So I again, I watched the film. We're going to work on a lot of things to trying to clean up the offense. We were a little sloppy in that. So today will be a good day to focus on us with that a little bit. But nothing that was not what I lived through the first time. When you watch it again, it was pretty true to form.
When you sat Ava with one foul early, is that because that you have confidence in Leila and your depth there, or is that because you knew Ava was going to be important and didn't want her to pick up that second foul too quickly? Take me through that decision.
Yeah, it was mostly all of that, but trying to get Ava not a quick one right away. We're just trying to just get her to think about it, because I know Randy Henderson and we've been working in practice to, get her to understand, you have to, after one, then you got to make some different decisions right away, right? You just can't be as risky if you think you can maybe get a steal or whatever. So it's mostly just to try to prevent what happening. And I do think Leila is a nice counter when you come off the bench, because you're dealing with defending Ava and her speed and her quickness, who's kind of a stretch 4 playing the 5, and then you have a really good, strong center with Leila. But it just didn't work out that night because both of them got in foul trouble. But that's what was our philosophy.
Coach, you're 15 games in now, which means you're halfway through. What's kind of the state of the union? What do you like about this team? What do you see as far as shortcomings and where you need to go?
I think that what I told the players, I think that we have so much growth and improvement yet that we can do. And I think that's exciting if we do it. Because a lot of teams, I don't know if you can be at the halfway point and think, whoa, we could really get this much better. The goal is always to be playing your best basketball, in February, right, that middle to end of February, and take off right in March. And I think, that's what I think we can do. But I feel like we have so much that we can conquer, and we've had a pretty good start. So that has me real excited. I don't know if I've, in all the years, in all my roles, if I had really looked at a season and thought, man, we can get a lot better. And I think that goes, if you look at us, the positive is, what I like is, who kind of is the big cogs in our wheel, but a lot of times it's 4 people in double figures. Sometimes the star is Chit Chat. Sometimes it's Ava. A lot of times it's Hannah. Taylor McCabe will be a sniper right when you need it most. So I think that's what's kind of nice. I love the fact that we're doing this. I think a lot of people are discounting how big of a role that Kylie Feuerbach plays for us. A lot of times what people don't understand, they just want points all the time. They just want points, and if you're not scoring, it just seems sometimes you're not valued. Kylie is a calm. She's a fixer. She understands what we want to do. She is our best defender. She's a senior that's been there. So you take her out of that lineup at a Connecticut game, and then we learn that it's a little bit more serious, but the team just puts their head down, and they have that next person philosophy, and we've been able to hold it. So I think that'll be huge when we get her back. So I think there's just so much positive that can happen, and it starts today. I just feel like our players, they understand mostly the mechanics of our offense, but we need to start doing a little better of making some reads and playing to the strengths of it, right? And that's the next big growth, but it's a big step. And I think sometimes it can look a little methodical is because we have a lot more youth than we do older. And when you have more youth than you do older, and you don't have someone that's also on the floor being able to direct, that understands it, you can have some tougher moments. But the way they work, the way they come every day, and for the most part, that selflessness, that's why I'm excited for, I think, what can happen.
Does Kylie get that? Does she understand how important she is? I mean, I assume she sees the comments and stuff. I mean, is that something she understands, hey, I'm valued, or is that something you really have to
I think this day and age,
reinforce?
I just can't believe social media. I've been around, but it's the craziest thing to me. And I know we're in it, coaches, I got it. But man, I think every coach will tell you, yeah, but they're human. I mean, you're human. They can understand it, and you as a coach can tell them. But women, I think especially, we take one bad comment and it'll stick in us. You can have 100 good ones, but I think she knows the value of that. But you have to work really hard in this day and age as a coach. I think to really hold your culture and understand, those kids that they really do matter. But yeah, I think it's crazy. I mean, I heard, I didn't hear this. Someone told me that, Hannah got hammered after the Northwestern game. And I mean, I think people sometimes forget that nobody wants to do better than the actual kid on the floor. I mean, I believe that my whole heart. We work with them every day, and I just think the way the people climb, they just get hammered. I think it's, we need to do better, but I think that's a tough world that they got to navigate, even without sport. I have 2 kids. I'm constantly like policing it because there's so much negativity that just seems so unnecessary, and you just got to police it.
What's the status right now for both Kylie or Emily?
They're both day to day. I'm hoping we get a jump with Kylie, especially with the rest. Just it's the explosion and the push off. And with Kylie with defense, she's got to push off usually the most on anybody. So we got a day off. This is our bye week. I don't really like having the bye week so early, but in this case, I do kind of like it because we'll get 2 days off of practice. We got back so late after Northwestern. We took yesterday off. We'll take 1 more day off before Indiana. So I'm hopeful all the therapy and treatment that we're doing is that, because Kylie is going to have to manage, some level, probably won't feel perfect right away. So I'm hopeful maybe Indiana, but it is really day to day. And Emily, I don't have any report on that. I think that continues to be day to day.
We've talked a lot about Ava Hayden and managing the foul trouble, and part of it is she is still just a sophomore.
Yeah.
But you look at, I'm sure you guys have analytics that show how important she is. I mean, the other night, I think you guys outscored them 39-18 when she was on the floor. Just how do you balance saying she is still young and learning, but also if you guys are going to get where you want to go, she can't play 18 minutes against Maryland,
yeah.
18 minutes against the UCLA or USC.
Yeah, I think that's the finest line, is because you don't want her to lose that aggressiveness, but teaching her what is a smart, aggressive decision and what just is needless. And she's just, I think, sometimes having a hard time. And Layla's too. She got in a little foul trouble, the reach from behind, right? Is getting them to play free. They're both high, pleasers. They want to do well, perfectionists. And so the balance, I think, of, putting them in duress in practice and then the constructive criticism, it's a tough balance because Ava knows full well that aggressiveness is part of who she is, but I think sometimes it becomes a bigger thing and she can kind of like paralysis by analysis. So I'm just hoping the more we play and the more we break it down, we watch the film on, why that wasn't a good decision. A couple of those in the Northwestern game, just her body control, right? We kind of gave her a pass that put her in harm's way, but then the ability to just maybe hold it and not try to make a move into the already set player. But it is. I mean, we're trying different techniques. I do think it is a little bit of the youth, but I also hope that, when you get tired of sitting on the bench, you'll start to realize, okay, what do I got to do? And that's, I think, she doesn't enjoy being on the bench in those situations when she wants to and could be helping her team.
Obviously, you prefer to have Kylie on the floor, but how has she continued to make herself valuable on the bench as a veteran presence? Yeah,
I've just really asked her to step up because, now she can really see it and doesn't have the pressure of doing it and seeing it and speaking it. So she's, doing all the things the captain does behind the scenes, and I think really kind of helping who's ever got the toughest defense assignment, talking about angles and if they blow a switch or, going over the screen when they should have gotten under it. I think she's doing all of that, stuff really, really well. I think our whole team has been doing well on the bench, really, and that, especially when you got a game like Northwestern when it's tough sledding, a lot of encouragement. But not necessarily. I think Dargan asked me who was the one leader. It was definitely by committee because sometimes they were either so tired or so frustrated that someone else had to take up.
Is there a future in coaching for Kylie if she wants it?
I doubt it. I don't think so. I don't think she's wired like that. I think she might want to play overseas a little bit, but I don't think, I haven't heard that, right? She's not crazy enough yet to think she wants to do this.
Are you surprised Indiana is where they are?
Yes, but with that being said, the portals, it just, the graduation, you have some really great eras and you lose a couple great players, and then the people you're counting on, hopefully to kind of step up, then they make a different decision. I think the thing about Indiana, though, is I respect Terry so much, is I think everybody who thinks, just the past will, is going to predict the future. If you think you're going to go to Indiana, you're going to face an Indiana team, and it's like a whole new deal now. And just because they're winless right now, that everybody's going to mistake that. She's too good. And she'll keep pushing buttons. And I recruited Beaumont. Shea Chesky is a nightmare to guard. They got that kid out of, I think what's hurt them recently is Saka. She's from UCLA, and we talked to her briefly. She makes a lot of difference, and she was not healthy. So they're going to be scary for anybody. Terry's really good. Her staff's really good. As much as it can go one way, if you get a taste and it goes the other, they're still a really, really good team. It's just sport, man. It can go one way or the other on you. But what I've seen on film, I'm still very, very, concerned. That's going to be a tough one for us going in.
You kind of just hit the thing that I was going to ask. I mean, they play at Nebraska tomorrow, and that they could come in at 0-5 in Big Ten play. Just obviously, as you said, you watch the film, you prepare, they're not an 0-5 team in terms of the talent that they have. Is there any level of concern about the part that you can't manage of them coming in and just backs against the wall on their home court?
Yeah.
Maybe Shea Chesky makes like 7
Yeah.
or something. Is that just a concern of maybe it comes together that night?
Yeah, I think it is. I think, I would have rather played him right off the bat, or I'd rather play him in about 2 or 3 weeks from now. I think they're definitely going to be, if they get some confidence and they get a win at Nebraska, then all of a sudden it's kind of back, in my mind, to that battle, right? If they don't, there's definitely a point where the teams, they got to start making that decision, right?
Similar to you guys.
Yes, right. It's going to be one of those moments, right? So we're going to have our work cut out for us either way. And the thing that's the wild card is we've had some battles with Indiana, right? Those kids, you go back to, all the Caitlin years, even before that when we had Megan, it's a really good rivalry. So that's the fun of sports. Rivalry can override records. Always has, always will. It doesn't matter. You look at the in-state rivalries, you look at the biggest rivalry in sports, that 1 or 2 times when it just 100% looks like on paper, this is the way it should be. That's what I think is cool about sports, when rivalries, they just overrule it. And I think this has the potential. So I honestly, I don't really, I see, records, but I don't really watch and look at how people are doing. But I never really trust the records or the standings. I certainly don't trust that with Terry. And what I know that, she's capable of, and look at her storied career, is like, I think, all of us, if you coach long enough, it all kind of happens. A tough spot, amazing spot, medium spot, and I just think she's in a tougher spot right now. I'd like to extend that for a week, and then I'll go back to being her, her friend and cheerleader, but I don't expect anything less than a really hard-fought game over there.
What was the recruiting process like for Leila, especially? She's coming from Alaska. I'm doing a story on her. What was the recruiting process to see that she was a right fit for here? She was mentioning that she was getting triple teamed, up in Alaska because no one could match up with her size-wise.
I had kind of, heard about, you see kids, bigs are harder to come by, and, some people just don't recruit bigs. They want positionless basketball. I really love the bigs, as we know. And so then I got a glimpse of her at a EYBL tournament in Chicago, but she isn't on the EYBL circuit. The EYBL teams are kind of in the middle, and then the next level's right on the periphery. And there's a lot of great players. But I kind of saw her over there, and I walked over, and then you could tell the coaches, starting to migrate. And that was the first time I'd seen her play live. And it only took one trip up the court. You could see how hard she played, her motor was. She has really good hands. The thing that Layla's just learning now is the game's a lot faster. And with the way we play, she has to kind of slow it down a little bit. There's other options she needs to look for before she just makes that move. And so it's just the pace of play and then our style. But boy, what she has physically, just keeping her confidence up and her patience level. But, going back to the recruiting, then it was clear. Those who like bigs, it became a pretty big-time battle. But she's just the greatest kid, and I'm sure you'll see that when you're interviewing her. And I think the sky's the limit for her. We just got to, keep working on that growth. But, she visited here, and, she loved it, and thankfully she chose us.
How was that visit? When she said that you went up there to Alaska, I guess, how was that visit? Did you do anything fun while you're up there?
Well, I was doing a West Coast swing, so I did the red eye. I flew up there. I was there for about 12 hours, took a flight to California. I can't remember if I saw, I can't remember what California kid I saw. It was in about 48 hours, and I think I also, in the middle of it, I think I met with Wright Thompson. He wrote that big expose or whatever you call it on Caitlin Clark that time. So it was just this crazy 48 hours it seemed like. But yes, the drive was beautiful. I met with her coach and her AD, which were great, and watched her play a little volleyball and basketball. It was in the fall. And then the coach, I don't know if I can find it on my phone. I need somewhere in there, I'll show you. She said, hey, you want to stop by my house? I got some moose jerky for you. And I said, well, never had moose jerky, but yeah. Well, I go by her coach's house, and her husband are big Alaska hunters. We walk in, and there's just racks, and there's like a bear skin. I mean, everywhere you could imagine, right? And then in her kid's old toy room, he was now older, but you know how we kind of keep the game room, I should say. These huge moose, like antler, or what do you call that? Whatever those things are. And she went over, you want to lift it? Oh my gosh, I lifted that thing and it was like struggle. It had to be about 50 pounds. So I have a picture of me holding this new one. So that was awesome. Yeah, it was great. It was like quintessential Nebraska. And then her coach will sometimes still send me they have a gator and they just go for 2 weeks. They just drive way out. And then they fish, they do all the things, and she'll be sending me the fish they caught. They're on the campfire, and her coach is really storied, won a lot of championships. But in Alaska, they charter fly to games, because they're so far away. So they're just so many fun stories, and someday I'm gonna go up there. But I think the players, they're planning a trip. Layla's invited everybody, so they're all gonna go to Alaska, but she's trying to decide it should be in May when we're off or in August. So she's already scheming and planning their little trip. I think they need to be there, at least 5 to 7 days. So she's now a travel coordinator.
What's the process of a player earning playing time in your program? How much of it is resume? How much of it is practice performance? How much of it is in-game performance?
Current before they get in, or like right now?
I would say before they get in, and then as the season progresses, how does it adapt?
Yeah, with you mean like when we get here in the summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the moment you start as a team.
Yeah, I think the way you hold your culture is that I believe in you got to earn it, right? You come in, and I try to recruit you to be a part of it, because I do think this program is really special. It has been since Vivian Stringer. We talk about all the recent era. Vivian Stringer had one heck of an era that she established when nobody was really caring about women's basketball, but somehow she got this place sold out and then some, right? And that is, mentioned now as a cute thing, but man, that was monumental back then, right? And then, as ever, we progressed through, and then we've had some good special times leading up to Megan's era and Caitlin's era. But, in Caitlin, you can tell her this: we never promised that kid a starting lineup, a starting position. Come in, we think we can envision, and we see this. But when you bring someone into a team and everybody's battling, and you know that you have an opportunity, I think that's the best way to build the team. We are in this new era, it's pro-like, right? But as long as, I believe that you come and you got to develop, and, the kids that are here, they got to feel like they have that opportunity. So we compete, and then it all kind of shakes out. I stat everything in practice. I stat every turnover, I stat every rebound, I stat every shot. Because you do need, I believe, a baseline of which, it's really close. Everybody in Section A and Section B and in Alaska watching on TV, you can think so-and-so should play, and you can think so-and-so, why am I not playing so-and-so? And it's really hard to coach. And these kids are working their tail off, and I love every single one of them, and they can bring something different, every single one of them. So it is really close, and I got a staff of opinions to manage. So I have found that when you stat it, that you have concrete, objective numbers of which to back up what you're seeing and what you're feeling. So I utilize that a lot. I also, not as intently as you get the plus minuses. I think sometimes they're awesome, but they're also sometimes, you look at it, you're like, you gotta be kidding me. She had, +8, she felt like a, +35, right? We have another segment of who's making who better on the floor. So it's not arbitrary. It's not like, well, I'm going to give this player 7 minutes longer, and I'm only going to give that player 1 minute because I don't. It's as sound as I think we can do it. And you try to tell the players, every day is like a game. You can't get to this point and then just like audition during a game. Now the lights are on, the pressure is greatest. So you got to keep them really battling in that practice setting. So a lot of it's subjective, yes, but I do use a really good system. And if everybody could be in practice, you would see that system is backed up pretty well. But I'm trying to make sure kids who are coming off the injury, when people come off injury, if they've missed a week to 3 to 4 weeks, that's a long time. And so you think you're just going to throw them in there and everything's going to be fine. It's a balance. It's a balance. They've got to get that confidence back. I've got to instill it, yes. The other players that have not been hurt, they've learned a lot in that 3 weeks. So it's complicated, but that's why coaching and players, it's been that way since the beginning of time. But that's how I do it.
And then is it wide open, 1 through 10, like where everyone's going to because Coach Ferentz likes to say every position's wide open during fall camp, during spring. Is that the same way you approach it, or are there some that are like, we're putting this one, like they're going to be in this?
Yeah, I think, yes, it's wide open, but was Caitlin threatened? No. Was Megan threatened, right? I think, it's wide open, and if you overtake that person, absolutely. But the great ones, right, you're building around them. But I think that, this era, it's just interesting. Like you just think, oh, these people are going to come in and whatever. But I believe a team is stronger, it's more unified, and the culture can weather everything we're going through if you recruit to it. And I do share Kirk's philosophy. And sometimes, when you get through that process, what was in the beginning, and then when you get here, a lot of that can be forgotten or misconstrued, and so you really have to battle for that culture every day, right? And so, yes, it is wide open, but I think when you have your key positions, right? Like Gronowski, we didn't have really a quarterback, right? That's why he was brought in. I think those are different with football, with what that is, but when you're recruiting someone to come in, you think definitely they can be a key player, but some people just take a little time to develop. And the cool part about sport is sometimes the upperclassmen don't relinquish. That's when you're good. It's just like, they're not just like, okay, they're going to play her, and I'm just going to just not do what I need to do this summer. And I think that's why Kirk, and I'm sure Ben's the same way, is like, it should be wide open. Because I think that's when teams are really formed. You kind of storm and competing, and then the best kind of go to that starting lineup. But I think that's to me, that's the only way that I feel like that I coach, and I feel like everybody feels like they matter.